Hello, I am here with Principal Hooks and Assistant Principal Stuart, and we're here to talk about the instructional structure that was voted on and that we're moving to. And specifically, the word 6x6 is what is being used. So help us out. What is a 6x6 model? What does that mean?
So I'm not 100% sure where the 6x6 model terminology came from, but really what it's leading us to is 6 grade levels in each building. So 6 in the K through 6 and then 6 in the high school. Really, there's 7 in the K through 6 because of kinder, but that's really where the 6x6 terminology I think kind of stemmed from.
Great. So with this move, what that means, seventh and eighth graders now will be coming up to the high school building. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions is, well, so does that mean seventh and eighth graders are high schoolers?
Actually, no. We're actually going to call it a junior senior high school because seventh and eighth graders are still junior high. And so basically we want them to have the same opportunities they would have even in the other building. So we want them to have the opportunity to have student council. We want them to have the opportunity to be co-leaders. We want them to have the opportunity to have National Junior Honor Society. We want them to have the opportunity to have junior high dances. And we want them to have the opportunity to do eighth grade mini capstones. So we want to make sure we encompass the opportunities that they normally would have. It's just under the same roof as they're going to complete high school, which has its benefits as well.
Mm-hmm. And this would mean that middle school students, like Ms. Stuart said, they would have their separate school dances, separate celebrations, and separate clubs. We know that there are really important middle school clubs, and we want to make sure that those students still feel like they have a place that's for them. And so they'll still have all of those items just up in this building.
Yeah, so it sounds like, again, separate junior high, seventh and eighth graders, and then you still have the high school, which is 9th through 12th grade. Mm-hmm. You have those experiences that are traditional and those things that are for each kind of level, the junior high level, the senior high level. Mm-hmm. Great. One of the questions that we've received is there enough room at the high school, and where will the 7th and 8th graders go?
Yeah, I think we've looked at the high school. This has been obviously a plan we've had in the past, and the situation that we didn't have enough teachers, which has happened almost a handful of times, I would say, since I've been here. And so we do definitely have enough room for those students up here. We have around 215 lockers. I think our student count right now would put us right around 200 students in this building if it were a 7 through 12. So we have plenty of lockers. We already have a map that we have mapped out all the classrooms for 7th through 12th grade teachers. And what else, Ms. Stewart?
Well, what's really great is right when they walk in the building, the 7th and 8th graders, their lockers will be on the south side and all their teachers will be on the south side. So everything is about right there. So, and right near the office so that there's a lot of eyes on the students as they enter and leave the building or enter and leave their classes. So they're actually not throughout the whole building all the time. They're primarily most of their classes, we structured it on the map that intentionally that it's almost like their grouping is on the south side, right when you walk in near the office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely something that was a concern and something we've talked about is that locker, right? The locker space and how things are organized. Another question and concern has been about lunch. We know that high school lunch looks a little bit different than lunch does down at the K-8. So just speak to that.
Actually, we've designed it and organized it so there's 2 lunches. The 9th graders have always had to stay on campus. So we took that idea. And so we have 7th through 9th grade lunch, closed campus. And while that's going on, then we have the 10th through 12th grade seminar classes. And then basically at the end of that lunch period, then we flip. So then the 10th and 12th graders have lunch, which is open campus. And then the 7th and 8th graders have their Mustang moment. And the 9th graders have their seminar class.
Yep.
Which we already have a curriculum for. So again, we want to make sure we're still giving the same opportunities just under the same roof. So what's really great about the closed campus, we will have, more teachers on duty, more eyes because there's more students at that time. So,
and something too with talking about space and lockers and logistics and just to let everybody know, there's been a lot of plans and a lot of thought and intentionality brought to all of this. and thinking like, oh my goodness, we're bringing 7th and 8th graders up to the high school. Are our classrooms going to be overflowing and at capacity? Talk a little bit just about class size, and are 7th graders going to be in a class with juniors?
Yeah. So we will not be teaching 7th or 8th graders in the same classrooms with 9th through 12th graders. The way that a lot of our standards work is that we have to teach specific state standards to certain grade levels, especially once we get to the high school level. High school classes are accredited, meaning we have to, we just have other state reporting that we have to do. It's more strict for high school classes and high school students as they're headed on to post-secondary education. And so we actually have a lot more flexibility with 7th and 8th grade, which is kind of nice. So they won't be in the same classes at the same time, just to make sure that we're meeting the accreditation and the standards that the state needs us to for high school students. But also, again, like Ms. Stewart said, to make sure that our 7th and 8th graders still have that junior high experience. And so they'll have their classes, 7th grade, English language arts, 8th grade English language arts, and we will continue that framework up here at the junior high level.
All right. One more question kind of about logistics, right? Is the question currently we have high school sports and we have middle school sports. Mm-hmm. So what does this transition mean for sports or clubs and those types of things?
Well, I think first we'll talk a little bit about the sports lockers. And I know that this is something that Ms. Stewart's worked a lot on. So I'll let her speak to that. And then we'll get back to what transportation looks like.
The sports lockers at the high school, they already have their sports lockers. We really don't use PE lockers. So the students, if they do have to change, they keep it in their primary locker or in their backpack, and then they change and then change back out. So PE lockers, we really don't use those in this building, but we do use sports lockers for the high school. Through discussion, we've decided to keep the sports lockers for the junior high students at the other building because football, volleyball, and basketball, they all have their practices and games down there. So we've actually looked at the bus schedule to do early release to bus those students down there so they have time to change before their sports practice or game. So basically that's still separate. Now, when it comes to track and wrestling, the junior high students are already up here for that. So basically in track and wrestling, they can fit the clothes needed for that in their backpack or in their school locker. So when it comes to sports lockers, yes, they will still have a sports locker at the building in which they will be participating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just to speak a little bit to that early release, so something that we've decided that will help logistically, not just for athletes, but for all 7th and 8th grade students in the junior high next year is we'll be releasing 7th and 8th grade students, all of them, a few minutes before we release high school students to make sure that parents can pick them up. Those kids can get safely to the bus before our high school students exit. As you know, many of them drive their own vehicles. So that will just help make sure that our parking lots and our pickup lanes aren't overloaded. So 7th and 8th grade students will be released earlier than high school students by a few minutes.
And junior high sports will still include 6th grade?
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Perfect. Okay, last question from me for you. What are the benefits or reasons to go to this instructional structure?
Mm-hmm. I would say, and this is one I've spoken to a lot, but really just a logistical reason and kind of the primary reason is staffing for our students. Right now, teachers in the state of Colorado are licensed 7 through 12 at the secondary level. So this would help us leverage and put all teachers in front of all students that they can teach. And so if we do come up on a situation like we have in past years where maybe we lose a teacher or we're short in a subject area, we can use all teachers in the same building with all students in the same building and not have to worry about maybe missing out on a teacher that currently works in the other building and can't get here to be in front of some of our kiddos.
And to also speak to that point, if there's a staff shortage, which is a Colorado issue and a nationwide issue, if there is a staff shortage, then basically we have more electives for the students by having them all in one building because we have certified teachers all in one building. Also, let's speak to the advanced students who now are coming up for classes because they have shown that they need to. They don't have to change buildings. So it's an easy transition for those students to be challenged at their academic level. Relationships, if we want to talk about that, they'll be in the building for 6 years, so they have a more opportunity to create long-lasting relationships with teachers, administrators, counselors. And the hope is that it'll strengthen the school spirit because they'll be here for a longer period of time and have stronger relationships.
And something I'm passionate about as an educator and an educator in a rural district is you kind of, you're on an island sometimes. You might be the only person in your department, and that's how it is for a lot of our teachers in our in our middle school and high school right now. And so by having all the teachers in one building, they now can become departments and they can lean on each other. We have made sure that we've built in common planning time for them so that they can use that time for vertical alignment and to make sure that we're meeting any gaps between the 7th through 12th grade levels in each department. And so now those teachers will be able to collaborate and grow their instruction with another qualified educator in their field.
I'm curious, have you guys received questions?
Yes. So one question that I've received from staff and that I think we've had from parents and also our district accountability committee is how does this model or this instructional structure fit into our new strategic plan?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm so glad that somebody has asked that because we have been talking about and focusing on a strategic plan for the district, and we are still committed to that. The structure does not change the strategic plan. In fact, it enhances what we're trying to do through our strategic plan. When we think about, our 3 big buckets and goals, one of our goals and our first goal with the strategic plan is growing our student skills and focusing on those academics, right? So their strategic plan started and was rooted in our district state rating and turnaround status. And so having this transition will help our staff, as you've already mentioned, collaborate more and work to grow those student scores at those levels, and specifically in our greatest areas of concern. I would say that this move then focuses on that culture of academic excellence and brings that level of work and that level of focus, and it just brings it to the forefront for all of us. And I think this collaborative piece for the staff is only going to increase that support and rigor for the students. And it definitely does support our strategic plan. And something I spoke to at our board meeting is, for me, it's not about what structure we use, but it is about our relationships. It is about how we support each other, and it is about teaching and learning. Mm-hmm. And so this structure, or any structure, honestly, is the logistical piece. And it's really about what we're doing in the classroom and outside of the classroom that speaks to all those other pieces. And so this structure does fit into our strategic plan, and looking forward to continuing to talk more about it. So great question. Anything else either of you want to add right now?
I just really think that this structure will lead into excellence in education. And really, our why is the students and student learning. And so with all the things that we've spoken to, I believe that we're really getting on track and really keeping that as our focus, because it really is about the students and student learning for college and career readiness at the end of the day.
Yeah. So, Thank you.
And I would just say I appreciate all of the comments and questions that the community has brought forward. I think it's good to know that people are invested in our system and really want to know what's happening and make sure that we're working together to make the best possible education for all of our students. And so keep the questions and comments coming. That's what we're here for. And we want to make sure that you're supported, and we thank you for supporting us in this transition.
Yeah, and in that light, we'd like to invite you all, especially those that have incoming 7th, 8th, and 9th graders, and of course anybody else, if you want to come take a tour with us. We are opening the doors, having an open house on Friday, May 9th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And yes, that is during the Joe Shields track meet, and we hope that you come out to the track meet, support our Mustangs, and we hope that you come and take a tour of the school, see where the lockers will be, see where the classrooms will be, and be able to ask us those questions here in person. We will be having more of those opportunities, open houses, times, and those types of things. We have a lot of things going on through the end of the year, and we hope to see you. We're excited as we wrap up the end of the year, as well as plan for next year.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.